Hello. Okay, this is kind of part 2 off of yesterday's video on how I do the little butterflies and hummingbirds. So again, the resin has been mixed, set, most of the bubbles are gone. So just a little bit into the mixer. Green goes over here. Using a little royal golden color. And I really don't want this dark at all, so I'm going to add just the tiniest bit because I'm going to use it to go with the dark glitter. So all I want is just the tiniest of color. I don't want to overpower. I want to be able to let the sun shine through it. Now there was a step yesterday I did not show you that I did do after I turned the camera off, and that was to use my heat gun to make sure I got more of the bubbles out. Okay, it's mixed. All I want to do, and I am going to pour this because I do have a larger area to fill. And because I'm going more of the resin than what would fill the tiny little edge, it will more than likely bleed when I add the silver. But as I said yesterday, there are no straight lines in nature. So having it bleed is perfectly acceptable to me. I need a little bit more there. I'm getting this in the camera, right? Yeah. I'm going to use the toothpick to get up in the beak. Okay, like before, I have too much. I don't want to waste it. So into my little mold. I'll spread it out so it goes to the corners. No, edges. There's no corners in a circle. And as I did yesterday, clean it out real quick. Paper towel. And we'll be ready for the next color. That back out of the way. Clean. Top on. This one's going to need a little bit more because there's more of the birds, but not too much more. So that should be enough. And this time I'm going to use a shining pearl white, again to go with the silvery color that I put in there to begin with. And again, not too much to start with, just a little bit. I want the glitter to shine through more than the color of making the color, the gold and the silver, to match the glitter gold and silver, just highlights it. See, if you can tell. It's pretty transparent, but just a hint of the silver color in it. So let us pour. Slow. And smooth it out a bit. There will be one final clear coat on top of all this to finish filling the molds. And it looks as if I did not make enough, which is all right. It's easier to make more than to have to keep filling my extras. Again, like I stated yesterday, gravity will level it out. So how much more do I need? Not much. That should do it. Now, a dry toothpick. I noticed watching yesterday's video, I kept saying Q-tip and not toothpick. Sorry about that. Get a word stuck in your brain, it stays there. I am using toothpicks, not Q-tips. Okay. Now I said before, once you've got color in and you put too much, you can't do much with it. In this case, I can do a little bit, because it's just a little too much color. I can pour a little bit more resin, which means I'm going to have extra, but I'd rather have the color right and have a little extra resin than to have the color wrong. And that's what I'm looking for. Through the tail and through the wings. Nice little coating. Like this, I'm not totally filling up the mold. By not completely filling the mold with the coloring and putting a final coat of clear, it also helps to let the sun shine through once these things are hanging up outside. So I'll clean that off. And I do, well, not too much extra. That was close. Just kind of go down the center. And again, clean it out. Get ready for the next step. Now, the reason there are 2 hummingbirds and there are 2 butterflies when you only saw one of each yesterday is I did make 2 videos yesterday. The first one, I had the camera set wrong and you couldn't see anything that I was doing. So I pretty much had to throw that one out and made a second one. Now, what I didn't show you, but I talked about, is you did not want to do colors that sit right next to each other. So on this one, you'll see that I did a color, I left a blank. Did a color, left a blank, did a color, left it blank. Now that these are dry, I can go in and fill in these spots that I left blank. And I want to do the pink, and again, I'm not going to match it exactly. I'm not going to need a whole lot either. But nature is never perfect anyway, so. As long as I'm close. And I think in this case, a little bit more. It's not quite as close as I want it to be, and I would rather have it a little darker than lighter for the bigger spots. Again, like I said, if you're doing a large spot, you can use the larger stick. Get that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. But when you're trying to get into the small areas, let's go back to the toothpick and let it move it. And put the resin into those tiny little areas so you don't overfill. Especially the small area we're talking here. As long as I get the toothpick, we'll do, oops, there we go. Again, let's daub it up. And since the others are dry, I can be rather rough with it to get it out. Okay, and go back to the large stick to do the big spots. And it looks as if I measured fairly close. That last bit of pink in. And pink is done. There's not enough in here to worry about, so I'm just going to clean it out. And that is ready to sit. Now the next one, let me get this up and out of the way so I can show you, is a piece I did not start yesterday, but it's a piece I need for my next project. This one just needs glitter. There are no areas in there to color. So I can basically go straight, throw the glitter in. There's the lid. With the colors I want. Predominantly purple. And as before, a little brush, very gently mix. Oops, gently. And then spread it out. You don't have to be perfectly smooth. This is your artwork. If you want to leave it a little clumpy. If you really wanted it evenly mixed, you could put the glitter together, mix it up so it's evenly mixed, and then put it into the mold. I like to see what happens if you just let it go. Color I'm going to put in here is going to be purple. Again, I want it light because this will be part of a wind chime hanging outside. So I don't want the color too overpowering. If, as you see, the powder wants to kind of clump, just gently push it up against the sides. That'll break that liquid tension and get the color to start blending. Again, anyone who's done any baking knows that's what you need to do to get the powder completely mixed into the liquid. And then gently stir in the color. I'm lifting it up and letting it go down because that gives me an idea. Looking straight into this, it looks awfully purple, but as I let it flow, I can see it's not really that dark. So this is the level of color I want. Now for me, if I've got a couple of dots that of powder that didn't get mixed, it just leaves an interesting accent of color in my project. Although I do attempt to get all of them mixed in, but if I do miss one, I don't get that worried about it. Okay. Since this is a big area, I can pour very slowly. All the way around. Like that, gravity, osmosis will even it out, but it helps if you give it a starting point. All the rest of this into the center. And my Q-tip. Okay, I can tell this is not going to be enough, so second batch. Not quite as much as the first. I don't have as much to fill. tiniest bit of color. Again, if you're not used to doing that tapping, use a Q-tip, a dry, to pull the powder out. The more experienced you get, the more you can tap the color out. I said Q-tip again. Toothpick. I got Q-tips on the brain. Okay. Fill in. Toothpick to mix. This way I'm mixing in the old color with the new to kind of blend a little bit so there isn't a direct change from one color to another. Again, this did not fill the mold. That I will add one last clear coat to do so. And that one is done. Now what I will be doing off camera, because it's going to take another half hour or so, I'm going to use green to fill in the rest of this one again, just to a point, because I want them separated from the other colors. And I do have another butterfly here. I'm deciding what color to put in, and I'll do that off camera as well. So basically, after this, and I don't think I need to show you, is what will happen will be a clear coat once these have dried. And that's basically taking this and pouring it on top of all the molds till they're up to the tops. So I hope this showed you. There's a lot of steps going in, but if you're patient, you can come up with some really beautiful artwork. Just take your time, plan ahead, but if you make an accident, go with it. Ends up pretty. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.